You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to the Friday edition of Cards to the Moon. This is episode 194, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com, and you can find me on Instagram at 5cardguys. With me co-hosting as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards, and John, who is Trade You at Recess, both on IG as well. All right, off the top, we can't seem to get enough of the 2024 Top Series 1 because there are so many surprises coming out of this set, and the most recent one I just saw is that there's a special SSP card featuring Shohei Ohtani in his Dodgers uniform, as well as Juan Soto in his Yankees uniform. So the respective new teams going into the 2024 season, of course. And I believe both these Ohtani and Soto SSP cards are already listed if you check them out on eBay for a few $1,000s. So crazy. That is crazy. Initial thoughts, do you like these cards? And even if they're uniforms, I want you to think about this. It's photoshopped, right? Because they haven't played a game with their new teams. And, some people feel a certain way about them.
We've accepted that fact, right? That Photoshop, that's pretty common in like Bowman Chrome autos and stuff. It's always been kind of the case.
Right.
I think it's cool regardless. I think what maybe Fanatics is trying to do is bring relevance to a first-year player's uniform, for instance. So Ohtani is actually not even in the set list in Series 1. So this is his only card, which is like a short print. And the interesting thing about this is I believe his is number 250 in the set. Which is, if you look at number 250, it's Mookie Betts.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then Soto's card, he has a number 50 in a Padres uniform. And then his variation is number 50, the card. But then the code is stamped all as base cards, right? I'm guessing these are super, super, super short printed, like SSS.
Another S.
Yeah, an extra S. Right. I would say because I think the SSP is probably around a 300 print run. I would think that there's way less than that. Just what I see from what's out there and what's available. There's really none for sale. There's like 2 or 3 Ohtanis that are ridiculously priced. And then they have one Soto on auction right now with 8 days gone. So we'll know what it's truly worth in the hype, but I like them. I don't mind them at all. I think going back to kind of like a collectible item 3-4 years down the road, it's like if Soto and Ohtani make a legacy on their respective teams, that's going to be a cool little card that has massive scarcity, right? If you say this is the first uniform card of Ohtani in a Dodgers uniform or Soto in a Yankees uniform. So I don't mind it, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. You guys were, I was listening to the pod that I missed last week, and you were talking about, the Series 1 and all of the Easter eggs and stuff. And I think this is absolutely perfect. Like, they hit it out of the park. I love the idea. When I first started ripping, getting back into it was 2019. What's the Luis Robert Bow year? 2019, right? 2020?
Yeah.
2020.
Oh, Bowman?
No, just Topps Chrome.
Topps Chrome, 2020.
2020. Yeah. And I remember, we were talking about Mookie Betts, first time in a Dodgers uniform. And we're like, hey, this card could have potential. It's Mookie, it's his first. Right. And it ends up being a little lackluster or not so special because there's just so many different cards of Mookie in a Dodgers uniform. But this one, yes, it's photoshopped, but it's very clearly the first card in terms of the hobby in their new uniforms, and it's a super short print version. I think it's super collectible. I think it's going to be a big chase for Ohtani Soto collectors, Yankee collectors, Dodgers collectors. So it's really, really cool. I love the idea. I don't know if they purposely meant to play off the first time in a Dodgers uniform Yankee thing. Maybe they just wanted to throw it in there. I don't know, but either way, really, really good.
Yeah, I like it. The only thing I don't like is the price point. I'm not going to pay what's listed at $5,500 right now for the Shohei. I'm not sure anyone's going to pull the trigger on that.
That's definitely absurd.
Yeah, and like Hyung mentioned, the Yankees Soto card, 8 days left, but it's at $365. So, we'll find out next week what it goes for. But it's kind of cool. I mean, when it was last week's episode with Will, Hyung, and I, we talked about how the base card was surprisingly, for a base card, it looked nice, right? And I can only imagine seeing these SSSP cards in hand. I'm sure it looks really nice too. So I would love to have it, but not at that price point. Speaking of, these players in their new team, their first card in their new team uniforms, there is the first card. We did talk about this when it was kind of rumored, but the first card label on some of these cards, and I believe we know now it's essentially the first print run of that player. You guys into that, or just a gimmick?
I'm personally not into it, to be honest. I don't know what I feel about it, to be honest. Like if I pulled it, I guess I would like it. It's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, maybe there's future value to it. I know like Ohtani has like a limited edition Topps base 700 card in 2018 and has scarcity. So it's like a way lower pop count than his normal base. So I'm sure some people would in the future pay a premium for something like that, but it's not my cup of tea, I would say.
Fair enough.
Is this like the Ellie De La Cruz first card? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's the difference between this and the Gold Cup and or the rookie? What exactly, because I'm confused, what exactly is the first card?
I think it's just a base card, but it's the first run, like off the printers. And they just labeled it first card. And then everything else after that is just, your typical base card.
Do you know almost the print run?
So almost like a first edition kind of thing within the same set.
Right. And I don't think it's that scarce, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure what the exact print run is. It could be six digits in terms of the first card print run, but I don't know. It's something, I guess. Another small chase.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's a little gimmicky, nothing. I don't think it's a big deal, and I don't know if it'll really value the card that much more, but yeah, I think it's kind of cool to kind of differentiate this first set of prints versus like a second run of prints or whatever. So yeah, don't mind it.
All right, that's fair. Okay, before we go on to our discussion of this episode, I just quickly saw on X that someone pulled a redemption card from a 2024 Topps Series 1 blaster box, which we talked about in the previous episode, and it happens to be a signed Bobby Witt jersey, which is pretty cool, I think. We were wondering what it would be, so that's one of the signed memorabilia that you can get out of these blaster boxes, so I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, let's go on to our discussion, and it's just not one thing we're going to talk about because there are a bunch of stuff that happened over the past week, and I thought we could just do a kind of a quick rundown of some of these hobby news, hobby happenings, and let's just give our quick hot takes or initial takes at the very least on what we think about each of these hobby news items. Okay, so since we're talking about Topps Series 1, and we did talk about this before, the Kevin Hart limited series, numbered to 52 because he's 5'2" on the Philly cards, and I know you guys saw it because we were sending the links to each other. But Michael Rubin and Kevin Hart had a FaceTime chat to follow up on this, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that. If you had a chuckle, and John, since you missed our episode last week, just your quick thoughts on the Topps marketing campaign so far, especially for Series 1.
Man, so far I've been pretty impressed. Like the what's his face, Michael Harris going to the card show,
right? That too, yeah.
the packaging on the boxes, this whole Kevin Hart thing, 5'2" Philly cards. I think that's a pretty neat Easter egg. And then the FaceTime each other, that was, first of all, it was really funny. And second of all, it's just like it's the perfect, I don't know. They knocked it out of the park in terms of marketing for Topps product, and especially Series 1. Because I think people outside of the hobby, sports fans, or people that happen to run across that FaceTime, was on Instagram or wherever it was on, it could really draw some people in. So I think the marketing aspect of this, they're home run. Like I'm thoroughly impressed. I didn't think I would sit here, because I'm usually a little bit critical to these companies, and been somewhat hopeful that Fanatics is going to really bring it, and this, I've been pretty impressed.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like we talked about it last week, how Fanatics marketing is, next level. The ability to combine resources, the ability to get, millions and millions of views on their brand within a couple days. I think it's at 5 million views in 2 days. To me, Crazy. It's like that's a win. Like, that's at the point, if I'm Michael Rubin, I'm constantly doing stuff like that, because that's just brand integrity. That's just building, enormous amounts of generic eyes onto your brand. And for me, it's not even about sports cards. It's about, Fanatics has multiple ways of monetizing. So they're making, if they have a marketing campaign that has 5 million views in two days, that's a very, very successful marketing campaign, period, for any business. So Fanatics being the big dog they are, the amount of, ways to sell products, revenue streams for Fanatics, it's genius. They could allocate more money towards utility-based things, like, whether it's like that Bobby Witt Jr. blaster jersey, like those are things that we talked about in previous pods, where Fanatics can leverage their resources that they have in-house and be able to cross-sell or cross-promote kind of like multitudes of their products, right? So for me, I'm all for it. Like, in terms of the business side of things, I think it's genius. It's just millions and millions of eyes on the Fanatics Topps brand. And if you're a hobbyist, honestly, and you have rare collectibles, it's a good thing. If there's more people in the marketplace and you happen to hold just rare cards in general, I think it's just a better marketplace for everyone in terms of how rare our collectability or our collectibles are, right? So, yeah.
Agreed. Not much more to add. Maybe even get one. I was looking on eBay, but it is about expensive. It's about $300 to $400, and I don't want to spend that much on a Kevin Hart limited set. If it was like $50, I'm like, oh yeah.
I think a lot of people are bitter about that. They're like, they just can't understand why people are paying this much. And again, it goes back to, if there's utility, something cool with that $350 second tier market, you never know, right? Maybe there is.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Fanatics at this point. All right, next thing on the list, Wemby. Victor Wembanyama's this Black Shimmer Prism was pulled, his 1/1 card, by a Chinese breaker. And I believe it was listed on eBay for $500,000. I can't find that listing anywhere. I think they might have pulled it down, but it was initially listed for $500,000. But if you saw the video, they were, recording when they actually pulled it live, and it was pretty exciting. It's I guess "let's go" translates into any language, and it is just screaming into the mic. The exact reaction we'd expect now from breakers. But your initial thoughts when you saw that being pulled?
I mean, massive card. Obviously, it's the biggest chase. I think 500,000 is a little aggressive, but I mean, if I pulled it, I'd probably list it for 500,000 too.
Start there,
yeah. Start there, see what you get. Realistically, a lot of people overpay for stuff like that regardless. So I think it's definitely a sell right now while things are hot. But I don't know. I think that probably card is maybe $150K if someone's willing to pay for that, because the black is the true kind of 101. I understand,
Yes.
like if it was the black 101, it would have been like 500K, or at least some person would be paying that, right?
Right.
Like that's the next level of collectors that we always can't justify why they would purchase. You know, they're on a different level where, you know, collectability is big time, and Wemby's a big time player. So, you know, it's no different than if it was Luka, in my opinion. So that's the type of news you're getting right now. It's a Luka type, you know, big name.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's being able to see the biggest cards in the world, the biggest chases get pulled on camera. I mean, that's awesome. Nothing more to say about that. I would have thought the price would have been probably like a kind of like Hyung saying, maybe around $100,000. But I think because there's that bounty, I don't know, I can't remember who put the bounty out, but $100,000 for the gold out of 10. So whoever's trying to sell the shimmer, I'm sure they're using that kind of as the baseline and hoping to get, you know, 200, 250 or something like that. So either way, cool. Super cool to see it on camera.
Guys, a black shimmer and the black 101, it's a color match, okay? So you got to add a premium to that, right?
That's true.
It's hobby logic.
With the black,
it's the shimmer.
That's true. Yeah, that's also true. So the black shimmer, the black, and the nebula, those are the 3 1-of-1s, right? From the Prism set. So we got one of the 3. Let's see if the black comes out anytime soon, as well as the nebula. All right, the third one, MLS Debut patch introduced by Fanatics. They're taking a play out of the MLB debut patch. Of course, we talked about that extensively. How do you think these will do? Pretty much a no-brainer, or what?
I think it's a no-brainer, but I don't know how well they will do. I think it's more of a long-term vision for Fanatics, because then you get to go into NFL and NBA when you have your licensing, and then now it becomes that logo man of, you know, everything of the hobby, right? So for me, I think it brings more attention to MLS, where I think there's massive opportunities for growth just in general. I think MLS is a big time growing brand. They signed Messi, you know, and having collectability like Messi in a set where, you know, they have a debut patch for the rookies. I don't even know anything to do with MLS, to be honest, and the rookies, but I imagine there won't be a huge chase of these debut patches. But at the same time, I think it's a start of what Fanatics' long-term plan is with soccer in general. They have, you know, value in the sets because they have probably Messi autos and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of chase that I think they're trying to create. So,
yeah,
for me, it's like inevitable. It makes sense, but I don't think it's going to be a massive hit where people are like, man, who's this guy? But it's like $50,000. It's like, I don't know about that, you know?
I personally think it could be. I think it. You know, at first when I saw it, I was like, you know, you don't really know the rookies. Not many rookies that kind of shine out of MLS. But this isn't rookie patch; it's debut patch. So any import
debut? Oh,
yes,
debut. So
Messi,
you know, they
had one.
Right. So they missed Messi by a year, but had they had this and Messi came in.
Can you imagine?
Exactly. Right. Messi would have a debut patch. And from here on in,
then
you know,
it changes it for sure.
Oh, I think it's going to be huge. So, you know, whatever imports they bring in from now on, I mean, that really shines a light on MLS you know, these debut patches, especially for the soccer community, is huge. So I think this is a great idea, and it's going to really, I think it could, depending on who's in the set of that year and which imports have come over. You know, I like, look at the three of us. Imagine Sonny came over from Tottenham towards the end of his career and came to play LA Galaxy, and then he has a debut patch. Like, you know,
take my money. Career, just take my money.
We're all going for that card, so I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And the big chase, I think, this year is, if you're a soccer fan, Luis Suarez, who was the Uruguay superstar.
There we go.
So
that's a big one.
He's playing with Messi actually for Miami. So he just debuted, I think today actually, as of this recording. So he would have been one of the big chases for this year. But yeah, can you imagine if they, you know, introduced this last year and then the Messi debut patch?
Yeah, I think that would have done really well. Yeah, that's what you want right there.
Yeah. All right, a couple more. I don't know if you saw this, but PSA, they're not authenticating any Anthony Richardson, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, any of his autos right now until they come to a conclusion on the matter of the 2 different autos that are currently out there. Apparently there are 2 autos that look pretty distinct from one another, and they've already rejected one, and now people are confused, like what's going on, So any thoughts on that piece of news?
Yeah, his mom signed it, didn't it? Isn't that what? That was Luca's, right?
I'm glad my Luca autos are already authenticated. So
no, but you hear the stories, with people signing. Who knows? Maybe a friend, he got tired, and a friend was like filling in, for a couple. But I do see the big difference in the auto, from his typical like scribble to kind of like very big and blocky on that one. Is it just one of those cards that surfaced, or is like multiples now starting to like surface?
I believe I don't know how many there are, but I believe it's more than one.
Oh, it is more than one. Yeah. So
people are comparing.
My conspiracy is that friends are his right hand got tired and just like, hey Johnny, come fill in for me.
But how is this different than Shohei changing up his autos, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Is it him? Is he changing the auto, do you think? That's the thing in
he
question,
does have a long last name, Anthony Richard, like, you could change it up.
Well, they're gonna eventually, they're gonna investigate it. So at some point, we're gonna come to a conclusion. These are Panini autos, right?
Yeah, Panini sticker autos.
Yeah.
So there'll be some sort of conclusion. We'll see what happens.
I honestly think he just signed it 2 different ways.
I could see that too. I was looking at the autos closely, and I was like, I could pass as his auto actually.
Yeah.
Anyway. Does it look similar at all? I haven't seen it.
It does look similar. It kind of looks similar. Who knows?
But it is different.
At PSA might have been like, this auto's fake, and then it blew it out of proportion, and it totally was like, oh no.
It's complete sidetrack, but I always wondered. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, in the early '90s, and I'm sure even prior to that, but just from what I knew as a kid, you could actually mail in cards to whichever box. Like you can mail into the Leafs, you can mail into the Colorado Avalanche, and ask for cards to get signed. And you'll get it back. Like Felix Potvin, Joe Sakic, et cetera, Like my brother and I used to do that all the time. And I remember, I can't remember which show I was watching, it was like Last Dance or one of those NBA or sports documentaries. And they're talking about how the secretary was talking about, oh yeah, we get so much mail every day, 100,000 or something, lots of cards and memorabilia. And she's like, I just sign off on them. Like I know how to do the autographs. So now I'm wondering, like with that happening, and I'm sure it happened all over the place. Every arena, every team had some secretary that kind of knew how to do Joe Sakic's auto. And I wonder how many of those have been authenticated by PSA and BGS. PSA DNA, there's a bunch of like secretary autos. Like I'm sure there's a ton out there that have been authenticated.
Yeah, you'll never know, right?
Yeah.
At this point.
It's crazy, though. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys seen it, but I've seen a couple of Wayne Gretzky IP autos that look nothing like his autos that he does on upper deck cards.
Right.
Like it looks like he was half drunk or something and just going blah blah blah. So and then BGS authenticates it, right? So I'm it just makes me think.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to investigate this and come to some kind of conclusion. It'll be interesting to see how they figure that out. But we'll keep an eye out too and update all the listeners once we find out. Okay, last one. AJ Dillon. I believe he's the running back for the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if you saw this. This is kind of funny and cool. He wrote knock jokes on his Panini autograph cards. Yeah. So each one is knock. His second autograph card says who's there, and then you collect a series of the complete knock jokes that he has. And I don't think we know what the joke is. All we saw is the first 2 cards, knock and who's there. So people are wondering what it is, but just another creative way for players to sign their cards. What what do you guys think about more players doing that?
I think it involves interaction with players. One, I think it's a cool way of interacting with fans where, you know, it shows a side of a personality and of that player in particular. So, you know, I don't mind it. I love that, you know, players are starting to engage in the collectability space even more. So it's like same thing with Benny Montgomery. I remember the Borat thing was pretty big, and it was a pretty cool thing. And to this day, that card probably is still highly desired as long as, you know, he still, you know, exists and, you know, does what he's capable of doing. So, like, I think there's a lot of positives to it, just like you know, the Brady Expos, you know, inscription. And inscriptions are a thing in the memorabilia space, so I think it's super cool, super rare, and I don't mind it at all. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I'm personally a big fan of it. I do think if the more athletes do this on the regular, it probably get a little played out, which is okay. Either way, AJ Dillon fans, whoever's collecting a certain individual, and there are very personal inscribed cards, I think that's cool. I mean, there's no, you know, like I don't think anyone would disagree that it's not cool. Is it Benny Montgomery? Some of them kind of got a little gaudy, like he drew a little bit too much, which I understand kind of makes the card a little ugly. But
yeah,
I wonder if somebody would dare deface their own card, like put sunglasses on their face.
Didn't what's
someone
his
do
name?
that?
Josh Young.
Yeah, I
think he did it.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Like a mustache on his face or something like that?
Yeah.
Authentic
glasses,
alter.
I think. I love the creativity. I'm not, inscription cards are cool, but I think I'd love to see more of it. But yeah, you're right, John. If more people did it, I guess it depends on the creativity. You know, you could really just, it could not be funny at all, but it's pretty novel still, right? Not a lot of players do this, so it's kind of still cool to see people, players do this kind of thing. All right, like I said, lots of news. A lot of them just fun, light news, and others definitely something to follow up on. But lots still going on in the hobby, and that's only a few. We haven't even covered the surface, but we'll talk about more of it actually on the next full episode on Tuesday. And again, thanks to all our listeners for tuning in to this Friday edition. And we'll see you in a few days. Talk then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.